and welcome to the Self-Service Podcast. Today I've got Rob Dunlop, the positive mindset PT and business owner. It's so good to see you and have you on the podcast. Thanks for helping me out.
You are welcome. That's quite a title and a thing to live up to. So hopefully I deliver some justice or yeah.
Lovely. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. I was really hoping to start with getting to know you a bit. I mean, let's go back to Rob Dunlop in your early years. What can you, tell us about your journey?
It always feels like that awkward thing, like, you know, you have to stand up in college or university and like tell someone a little bit about yourself. But I suppose for anyone who's listening to me, I suppose my background, I'm the owner. I've got two businesses. So I've run Jungle Fit, which is my practical PT business. And then I've got my online business, which is called the Built for Anything program, which specializes in helping people who feel overwhelmed, have self-doubt, helping them get in the shape of their lives. So I think going back to what you said, like my story, when did I first start? So I think my journey, I was the insecure skinny kid. That's how I describe it. Like I always have a joke and a laugh with my mum saying that the blazer that she gave me in year 7, like it fitted me the whole way through to year 11. So my sort of journey, fitness became a large part of my life because I needed it with the insecurity that sort of drove me to build a body that I was happy with. But, and we'll get into this obviously deeper into it, I sort of realized that there was still an element missing. Like it was all well and good that I felt that I was in good shape, but there was a large part of my life that still wasn't quite right, if that makes sense. And I didn't know it. I didn't know what it was at the time. So, I suppose being the bright ginger skinny kid at school, I was just trying so hard to fit in. Like that was it. I was like, as long as I don't get bullied, as long as I play sports, I was lucky that I could just kick a football, and I didn't get picked on. That's what we've obviously spoken previously about this. I think that people don't really probably appreciate when you look back. School can be a very, very hard time, and it forms, I suppose, a part of our identity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think there's so much pressure when we're young to fit into sort of certain stereotypes, to look a certain way. And I imagine that you were subject to that, especially being a guy at school, having to look a certain way sort of physically. How did that impact you into sort of your journey and how that led to what you do today?
I suppose for us in terms of similar ages, like the mindset thing wasn't really on my radar through school. I didn't really notice that I was so again, with my business, in a case of, it's always the things that I've struggled with. So I've struggled with being anxious a lot of the time. I've struggled with being overwhelmed. I've struggled with a lot of self-doubt. I knew that deep down, it's easy now because in hindsight, you can look back and go, oh, okay, this makes sense as to why I was feeling anxious. And truth be told, I always felt I was different. And I'm not trying to be like sad X Factor story here. I did just feel slightly different through school, through college, through university. It wasn't probably until I'd finished university that my mindset, I was just still, I suppose, lost in life, which we all can tend to be from time to time. I didn't know what it is that I wanted to do. I look back now and I realised that where I tried so hard to fit in life and try and be the cool kid and just get into a social circle and just be that person, that I was lost with who I was. I didn't know who Rob was. And it freaked the hell out of me, to be honest, because I really don't understand what I want out of life. I don't understand who I am. What do I do?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting now that you say how you did feel at that time. Do you remember when you were younger, did you feel that you could talk about how you're feeling, that anxiousness, that pressure?
No, there was just nothing. There was nothing around. It's a very particular, like our age group, I think is great in a sense of we're coming round to it more. And I think hopefully the message, even with guys, I think the guys now, that is still okay to talk. If any of my friends, any of my family members, any of my clients tell me that phrase, man up, I'll go ballistic, because I think it's an old term that we don't need to use anymore. And it's great that everyone, the younger generation, get a lot of stick, but at the end of the day, they're more open to the mindset stuff now. And we weren't necessarily, like you say, wasn't thought of at school. College, mindset stuff, again, wasn't spoken about too much. And even at university, so even in my sort of early 20s, still not really spoken about. I only caught on to my mindset stuff when I got a sort of coach on board for me. That was when I became aware of it. So you think that's, a long chapter of my life that I've gone through, not really knowing what's been going on up here.
And how did you sort of challenge those insecurities and those feelings? How did that take you on that journey through university and onwards to sort of deciding that personal training was your bag?
Yeah, I think I felt very, very fortunate that I fell into PT, because I was doing things sport related, because again, I enjoyed sports. So that was good. I knew that fitness was always going to be a part of my life. That was great. And as I fell into PT, I sort of made it up as I went along, because when you're a business owner, you just make it up as you go, getting people into shape, which was brilliant. But then you sort of, I don't know, as you learn, I wanted to learn more. Like I've always said, I'm curious is how I am. Even though I hate cats, I feel like I'm a curious cat. And
yeah,
that's how I felt I was. I was like, okay, well, what? Like, just starting to question myself. Like I couldn't even tell you when it sort of sparked into like when it actually happened. But I was just beginning to question my own thoughts more regularly. And then as you naturally do, you're then on Instagram, Facebook, and just searching for mindset stuff, and just, it's not necessarily like a spiral, but just going deeper and deeper and deeper with the layers, to figuring out who I was, which has taken a lot of time to get to where I am now, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's recognizing that it is a journey, isn't it?
Mm.
And also there's a lot out there at the moment, right? There's a lot out there that you can read and listen to, but I think it's finding something that really resonates.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be lots of listeners today that have experienced a similar background in being a young boy in school and feeling like that, and coming through and trying to find themselves. And it's listening to these stories that I think really, really helps people. How did sort of personal training actually help you in the first instance before you started helping other people?
We joke and laugh about it in the family, because Mum would always say that I would finish PT in my clients. I would come through the way that the studio works. It's down in the garden, and I would come through sort of the conservatory, and clients would go out. And my mum would say, like, are you on drugs? Like, what is up with you? And I just get so swept up in the world of coaching that it gives me such a buzz when I've got the right community, the right people. I'm actually quite an introverted person, would you believe? But when it's the right type of people, I get energy from it, right? The whole thing of being introverted is that like socializing takes a lot of energy. Yes, it does, but equally, if it's the right type of people, it gives me energy. So I knew it was the right job for me 100%, because I was feeling so fulfilled. I had I suppose the word purpose. I had a purpose in life. I was helping people at that stage just get fitter. Whereas we weren't really working on.
Start? Were you on the gym floor?
God, yeah. So Virgin Active was where I started many moons ago. That's where I first got into just doing my basic qualification and just driving from Bognor to Brighton every single day. And I knew full well that I suppose the gut for me, that I've always felt that fitness was the right thing, but the environment itself was not right for me. So I actually got the idea from a guy in London who was training out of his log cabin because he was short on space. So fast forward a few years, and my stepdad, luckily, he is a very handy man and was able to build it. I'm the polar opposite of a handyman, very useless. So sort of like I think we're in 9 years running the Jungle Fit. And it's evolution. It's evolved. I'm not the same PT that I once was. It's been a journey.
Wow, it sounds like you've been on like such a personal journey, but now you're actually helping other people with theirs, which must feel a bit like full circle, actually. But what would you say is the ethos of your training?
Oh, good question. Very, very good question. I suppose for me, it's getting people. I'm a big advocate on people having fun. I believe that you can have fun with your fitness, and I don't believe it needs to be this oh, I need to grind. Like, I hate the word grind. I need to grind everything out. I need to work 24/7. Like, I need to go into the gym and torture myself because I've eaten a bit of cake at the weekend and I feel guilty and all that type of stuff. I like the large ethos around Jungle Fit and around, to be fair, my online program is actually having fun in life, because I think as we get in our 30s, we assume that we should have life figured out and that we should have the kids, the married, we should have the mortgage, like everything should be fine. And therefore, the sacrifices that usually have to be made are someone's health and also their fun as well, because they're not having any. Yeah. So actually, yeah, my ethos for a lot of people, because it just boosts our mood, like have fun. I know it sounds so, it's usually the stuff that we don't think about, and people hearing this be like, no, you're mad. But it is, you have some fun, like during your week program. I say it to my clients as well. Where are you having fun this week? What is it you are doing to have some fun? Because if you're not, of course you're going to be feeling terrible.
So true, isn't it? And it sounds like such a simple thing, but also you can overthink it when you sort of say that to someone, like, yeah, just have fun with it. But I guess it's about that trial and error piece of finding what sort of fitness suits you and that you do enjoy. I think for my own sort of fitness journey, it's taken me a while to find things I actually like. And so then once you do have fun with it, it becomes something that you do actually wake up and look forward to. And it becomes part of your routine, I guess, more easily. Which means, because I suppose motivation is the hard bit as well. It's like having the motivation to even get there. I'm sure your clients struggle with that.
Oh, 100%. But again, it comes down to, so anybody listening to this, like, just give yourself 5 minutes and think, what is it that I enjoy that also that is also healthy for you as well, right? So I'll have potentially a client that will come to me and sort of say, oh, I used to do X, Y, and Z, whether it's swimming or whatever it might be. That's cool. Like, introduce some of that back into your life. Like, if you like going and playing tennis with your friends or some badminton at the Aaron Leisure Centre, shout out to Aaron Leisure Centre. Like whatever it is, like program it in, because it's going to be far easier. There's no point just going into a gym with no real idea what you're doing, why you're doing it in the first place, because life is more than four walls of a gym. There's so much more out there. I think that's where I've naturally always been curious to try loads of stuff. I don't want to just be bogged down and just training in a gym. I like to be able to run. I want to swim, cycle, explore the world. So do it all. Try things is what I would say. Try things.
And don't you think the gym has a little bit of like stigma and fear around it? I know, particularly being a female, the fear of going upstairs to the gym where all the weights are, like that's pretty scary. And how do we overcome that? I think what you were just saying about the fact that your exercise doesn't have to fit within that vicinity is really important, because I think everyone just automatically goes to that. I've got to go lift weights. I've got to go to the gym.
Yeah. I think there's, like, don't get me wrong, there's a few ways to do things. I think that phrase of like the first step is the hardest one is obviously stepping through the front door of a gym anyway. And you just assume that everybody's looking at you. Right. That's it. It's like the spotlight effect, isn't it? It's even like when you go out for a run, you just assume that everybody's watching you. Every car or every person that goes past is watching. But if it's the right type of environment, I think there's plenty of easy ways to do things. And that's just like, if it's the first time you going in there, jumping yourself on a little bit of cardio equipment, just so you can get a bit of a surrounding of where things are, just so you don't feel so alien. And there should be some sort of fitness instructor or PT on there to obviously give you your induction anyway. And after that, it's just a case of just picking a few exercises, not getting complicated with it, and get in and get out. But I think that's where people have got to try and give things a go first before they go, the gym's not for me. Because it probably is, you just haven't done it right just yet.
Yeah. And I think it also does help with the type of coach you have.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned earlier you've had a coach yourself before you then also became a coach. And I think it's also about that relationship that's really important. And I suppose, how do you build on like relationships that you have with your clients to make sure that they feel in a safe space, I suppose, and sort of stay on track?
I suppose, again, for me, it's the right type of client coming on board. If someone inquires to me, what I'm trying to figure out is, number one, can I get them the result that they want? Number two, do they have similar values to me? I now know that sounds like stupid, but all of my clients, our initial chats and things are quite deep. We need to really figure out what's going on in here. So that opens up our coaching relationship, if you will. So it needs to be a two-way street. And I think the deeper you can go with someone, the better results that people get long term. But what starts off as, I suppose, people want very shallow things to start with. Oh, I just want to get in shape for X, for what, Z. Okay, but why? And that usually stumps a lot of people because they haven't given themselves the moment to go, I don't really know. Like, why do I want to get, why do I want to drop a dress size? Why do I want to get a six pack? Because 9 times out of 10, the guys that come in that want six pack, they don't, because they haven't figured out what it is, what the sacrifice you need to make in order to get there. So to answer your question, I suppose for me, it's just, we just have a deeper, I have a deeper connection with all my clients. And if it's not the right type of fit, I'm very confident with turning somebody away, because there's a very cliche, but there's the PT out there for everyone. I'm not right. I'm not right for everyone. I don't claim to be. I just know that I love doing what I do, and I love helping people, especially the overwhelmed, the self-doubt, the feelings of being anxious and things, because it's something that I've gone through.
What I love about your approach is that you're looking at this holistically. People that come to you for PT, yes, physical health, but you're actually viewing it holistically as a whole person. And I think recognizing that it is also, that mindset plays such a crucial part of that, is looks at the whole piece, and understanding why you're doing it it makes such a difference. And how do you help people that do come in and don't actually understand their why? How do you sort of help them discover that?
Well, I think first of all, you don't rush the process. A lot of work goes back and forth with a potential client that comes to me, because we're usually messaging over Instagram, Facebook, or whatever it is anyway. And you've got to give people the space. There's no point rushing people. And I'm not sitting here saying that I was the best PT when I was younger, by the way. I was rushing everyone through my front door, whether they were the right fit, the wrong fit. Like, come on, yeah, I'm energetic. Yeah, let's just we'll sort it out. Mindset, don't worry, we'll get going. And you just obviously just get better at your job. So it was just a case of giving people space, asking people to go away and have a think about it, write things down. I had an incredible lady join me. Shout out to Sophie if she does listen to this, by the way. She came in for our initial consultation, and I'd asked her a few questions, and she came in and it was written down. It was the first time it ever happened where it was just a sheet of paper, and she'd written like loads of things down. And that's what you have to go off of. You said to me when we first jumped on, had a chat, how difficult was it to, the first ever podcast I did was obviously when I was talking about my own journey. And I had to sit down and sort of type out my own journey. And when you start putting pen to paper or keyboard to screen, you can just, you can pick things out and find things out about yourself. But I think it's really important just to allow yourself to have that space, because everybody lives a busy life, and I get it. We're all extremely busy, but if you don't take the time to sit down for a second and be still, slow down. I always say that phrase, slow down to speed up. You've got to be able to do that and sit and be comfortable. And I wasn't comfortable with my own thoughts, so I would always wear that. I would always claim to be extremely busy, because I didn't want to know what was going up in my head. And I suppose that probably filters quite nicely into like for me, my first wobble in life was having the tumor out of my leg. So I was probably 2-3 years into my PT business, like fittest I've ever been. I felt busy as hell, just getting people into the business. So everything was going well, and then just found a lump on my leg, and it just over time, obviously after having the operation, it just forced me to slow down, and that's where I felt probably one of the most uncomfortable in my life, to be honest. Like I was really struggling, really struggling. Not just a sense of like learning how to walk again, because I had to have quite a big chunk taken out of my right leg. But when you're then having to sit with all your emotions, and I say all my emotions, this was emotions of like back in school, back in college, back in university, and trying to string everything together as to why am I the way that I am. So slowing down is definitely a very uncomfortable thing to do. But as we well know, doing things that are uncomfortable on the other side is growth. So,
wow, that must have been a really hard time, and thank you for sharing that, because
that's right.
I think we all get so used to being busy and living this certain sort of type of lifestyle. You're going day in, day out, and then something like that happening to you where you actually, physically have to stop, it's difficult. And I think that's when you realize that we're not we're not invincible, and anything can happen. So that's quite a huge part of your life. Obviously, thankfully, you're still here today. But how did that impact you? How did that really impact you moving forward from that moment?
Obviously to start with, the initial phase was terrible, because I had clients my business was set up for clients to pay me just every session that they came in. So if I'm out of work for 2 months at the time, I'm now not getting paid. So I had the stress of that. Again, the stress of just sitting down and being alone and not having anybody around you, because everybody's still busy going off and doing things. So I know it sounds a little bit weird, but as a coach to start with, it was, I was busy 24/7 because I was seeing people quite a lot of the time. The initial phase was very, very difficult. Yeah, it was very lonely. It was a very dark place for me. But you then sort of go, okay, right, you're going to have to snap out of this and come out of this better and prove to yourself that you're capable of more. I look back, I was like, not that I wasted a lot of time, because I think we only know what we know now. So when I was in my opinion, through university and a little bit of my early 20s, I wasted a lot of time. So I saw it as a positive. So as soon as I came out of that, it was, I suppose, like my achievements for me, running marathons, doing ultra events, the 21 ultra marathons in 21 days with my best mate Matt. We raised awareness for calm, like doing those types of things. So I need to spin it into a positive light, and that way I feel happy and content that it's done that.
That takes some strength that not everyone just has inside them, but that's amazing that you've come out of something really quite scary, negative, and been able to run marathons and do challenges and create something positive out of that. What helped you, as well as having that sort of clearly that fire within your belly? Was there anything sort of externally that supported you in that journey?
Yeah, again, me and Alex we talk about support network, that I do have an incredible family around me. So, my internet connection is unstable.
That's good.
We're all good. So yeah, no, it was just I count myself very, very lucky. I'm very close to my mum, very close to all my family. My auntie helped me. Luckily, she's a physio, so she was helping me sort of walk upstairs again and all that type of stuff. So I was. Again, it doesn't have to be, for anyone that listening to this, it doesn't mean you have to talk to everybody. But if there's somebody like a friend or a family member that you think is going to give you not necessarily the best advice, because I don't think we should always want advice. Sometimes, like if I've got someone coming to me, it's like, what do you want out of this conversation we're about to have? Do you want me to just an ear? Do you want advice? Because otherwise and people hearing this, you've got people in your life that will give you advice regardless of what you say, right? So it's just important to choose your people wisely, for sure.
I love that, because I think we often, through seeking advice or sometimes being given advice unwillingly, as you said, we need to bear in mind that the advice that's given is also the projected values of others. And so we need to remember that, what might work for one person doesn't necessarily work for us. But I think it's that really understanding yourself piece, which I think is really crucial. And I think kind of the messages from what we've just been talking about is that people don't even give themselves enough time to sort of take a step back and think about what that is, and focus on themselves and know that that's not selfish. Like, actually to take the time out to understand yourself that bit better can have huge rewards. And it might not necessarily mean that you go and start a business, but that might not be what success is to you. No. But it really helps that sort of, I suppose, resilience in some way.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not getting at anyone here when I say, because I appreciate life can be very, very tough. And what I'm saying is, just sometimes in life, we do need to look up and just check that we're heading in the right, or just check that we're heading in the direction that we want to be, because it could be 10, 15 years have gone by and you then come up and go, God, actually, I'm not where I want to be. So I sort of check in with myself just once a month, just to make sure that I'm happy with where sort of like things are going, where my mindset is at, where my health is at, where my personal life is at. Because like life, no one has everything balanced and everything's perfect. I think it's a load of bollocks, in my opinion. Like, you're going to have times in life where whether people are business related, like, or family, like, you're going to spend time with your family, but then something else might suffer. Your fitness might be really well, but then something else might suffer. It's a constant juggling act. And again, I suppose Instagram makes it out and Facebook makes it out as if we have everything perfect. Even as a personal trainer, a guy that's been in the fitness game for 15, 20 odd years, I'm still juggling everything. I still don't get it right. So be kinder to yourself, I suppose, is the message there.
Yeah, and that's also a really good point of that social media thing. You know, we all look at that and think that everyone's got their lives together, everyone's got it figured out, we're failing somehow. And then also, you know, we don't look a certain way. And it's really tough, you know. I feel like we're the kind of last generation where we didn't have social media growing up through our sort of teenage years. And I'm really like grateful for that, because now I think it's such a it just creates even more pressure on young generations coming through. And I think for you in your industry as well, it must be transforming that so much in terms of sort of the reasons why people are sort of looking at focusing more on their physical health. But why do you think mindset is so important in this whole piece? What do you do personally to improve your mindset?
I think the mindset, why is it so important? Just because I know full well of the impact that it's had on my life. If that makes sense. If I touch base again quickly on after completing the Great British Run, for a prime example. So we trained for this, and we were like, right, we're going to do it for calm. This could be the best thing for mental health, blah, 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 because I knew the impact that it had. And we'd done our first run together, which was in Scotland. So our idea that we were going from capital to capital. So we hit in Edinburgh Castle, across to Belfast, down to wherever, and across the pond to Wales, and then on to England. And we finished our first run, and we were both flat as a pancake going, God, we got to do this for 21 days. Like, this is just like, we'd had the buzz of training and building up and up and up. And we did that the first day. The second day, we had a better run. Our energy was high. The third day, it was on the second day, just finished. And my sister rang me. I think it was my sister or mum. I can't remember which one. And my nan had passed on that day. And I just remember feeling just emotionally numb and getting annoyed with myself where I'm quite an emotional guy anyway. I'm quite good with, say, good or whatever. I feel the way that I do. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I don't know if it was a coping mechanism. And the family had kindly waited until I'd finished the run to then do the funeral as well. So by the time that had all finished, I remember sitting at home, and I was just a crumbling mess. I was like, had the funeral the next day, and I just sat at home, and I was like, everyone's just gone about their work and stuff. I knew whenever you do something, it's like a goal in life. Anyone listen to this, like, a goal is not always going to make you happy. You're not going to get there, then all of a sudden it's fitness or mindset complete. You've got to continue going along your journey. And I knew full well that I was going to come to a bit of a crash, but that was definitely the second. So there was two moments in my life. Obviously, the first one was the tumor, and the second one was losing Nan and trying to bounce back, because once again, I'd lost, my business wasn't doing great because I took 3 weeks off to go and run around the country. Of course, it wasn't going to do great. So it was business and personal. Both were doing terrible. And I remember, I think I spoke to you about it, Alex. I was sat in the studio one day, just in tears, just like so frustrated with why I was feeling the way that I was feeling, just wanting to go to bed, to wake up, to feel better. Exercise had taken a back burner. I was drinking more. All the things you shouldn't be doing, especially even as a PT. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing this and doing this and doing this. And then luckily at that sort of time, mum had walked in anyway to the studio just to sort of, you know, see what I was up to, what I was doing. And then that was where I reached out to a mentor of mine to sort of get the help that I needed, because I knew full well that I wasn't able to get myself out of it by myself, if that made sense. I knew that I'd put work in on my mindset was great, but I needed some direction. I needed some support, which I think we all do at certain periods of life. So again, that's where,
that's I think just shows how these tough times in life, these challenges, is also where you have an opportunity to grow. But you know, asking for that help must have been really quite hard. And how did that how did you sort of go about finding that person who was your mentor and coaching you at that difficult time? Because I think a lot of people also want that and maybe don't know where to look.
Yeah, and it is. I get it as well. It's a minefield out there. It's similar to the personal training world online, right? Everybody's doing it, so you've got to be very skeptical. I was lucky that I knew Dan, who's my mentor. I knew him previously. I bought his book called The Get Shit Done book many years ago. So I knew that I needed his guidance, and he you know full well when you just get a good feeling with somebody, and he wasn't there to take my money. He was there just to listen and just to see if he could help guide me. So I needed that. I knew full well that if I had him on board, if I felt better with that side, I can control the other bits and bobs in my life, my personal life, get my standards back up. So I'll always go, okay, what am I not doing? Okay, I'm not exercising, I'm not looking after my diet, and I'm drinking more. Be like, it's just, it wasn't me. So I knew full well that if I sorted those three things out, my mood was going to get better. I wouldn't be feeling anxious. I'd be less overwhelmed. And lo and behold, fast forward, what's it been now? Probably a couple of years, I'd say, which is bonkers. In what I would call, I don't like, for anyone listening to this, like I've got myself deemed in what I would call like shredded shape or whatever, like fitness photo shoot shape. And I was miserable. That is not what health and fitness is all about. Like I carry a little bit more weight around my stomach than I used to. I'm not as anal with my diet as what I once was. I still have a drink every now and again. And I tell you what, I'm the happiest that I've ever been. So it's not all about just aiming for a physical goal.
That says so much, doesn't it? And I can really resonate with that. At my most physically fit time of my life, when I was still living in Australia, it was my most unhappy. And, looking back, I was like, yeah, physically I was okay, but mentally I really wasn't.
No.
And it's really good that you say that, because I think there's, a lot of people that think that, okay, once I look a certain way, that's going to solve everything. But it really isn't the case at all. And it is how you feel inside, which is so important. And I think there's so much stigma still associated with that at the moment. But I just love that the journey that you've been on is such an inspirational one. I think it shows that what negative sort of experiences you have had, which most people will have throughout their lifetime, and how you've brought that back is really something amazing.
Oh, thank you. No, but like we were saying before we came on here, I think I used to have this expectation that I'd be happy when my business was doing this. I'd be happy when I got the body. I'd be happy when my mindset was there. But in reality, that is such a bad way to think. I was very fixed mindseted when I was younger. And it's just learning to be happy, which is difficult when you're going through a difficult time. I get it. It is so hard. But be thankful for what you've got in life, because there's a lot of people out there that don't have half of what you've got.
Yeah, just taking time to be grateful. And something you said a minute ago was having someone to listen. And I really sort of loved what you said there, because it's not necessarily about getting the answers, but did you feel like just the act in itself, from being able to just talk and be heard and listened, was helpful enough? Yeah,
100%. I think the problem with people reaching out and asking for help, I think there's two things. It's one, that we think that we're going to be judged, and the second one is it's our ego, that internal voice that's saying that we're fine, so don't panic. Like, we've got two voices that go on in the head, constant battles, the ego and just our normal, like sort of like our inner being, what we should really be listening to, that softer voice, I call it, rather than the one that's going, bah, like, do this. So yeah, I think it's those two things. I don't get me wrong, when I first started, when I was PTing, and when I would say for the first sort of 2-3 years, I would listen, but I would put across what I think and what I thought was best, which I'm not, I don't think bad of myself back then. That was all I knew. But I think in order for people, I think people have got to listen. And that's exactly how what I see my job now is, actually just to listen and guide if needed, show support if needed. and to sometimes hold a mirror, which is an interesting one, because we'll often tell ourselves things that we want to hear. We tell ourselves stuff that our parents have conditioned us, no disrespect to our parents whatsoever. But if you're speaking a certain way, challenge your own thoughts. Why am I telling myself that I'm not capable of this, that I'm not worthy of happiness, I'm not worthy of this? Like, once you start to unravel it, you can then go, oh, actually, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, why am I saying this? But I appreciate it is difficult to have, like, difficult things to have. We did a workshop. I've spoken to Alex about this previously. So a guy called Callum Wilson came in, and I did a workshop in front of my clients, and he just has this ability to unlock deeper questions. And once we'd done it, he called it the vulnerability hangover. Once you do that mindset work, it feels like you've worked out. You wake up and you feel like you've been on a 2-3 day bender, and you're going, oh my God. But at the same time, work in the body, work in the mind, you can just come back stronger from it. 100%.
Wow, vulnerability hangover.
The vulnerability hangover,
love
yes.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be using that, but you've copyrighted it. But no, I love that. And I think it's also the message that it's not weak to do that. It's that vulnerability is so important, and without it, you can't grow. And particularly for something I feel really passionate about is that getting that message out to men, because I think they find that even harder.
Yes.
Do you see that in your work? And I suppose also, what's your split of male versus female in your business?
I suppose to answer that the second one, my business is pretty much what I would say almost like a 50-50 split. Is guys and girls. I don't see, like, for anyone listening to this, the niche of the personal training world is that you should either be like sort of go and just help males or go and help females. No, I help people probably similar ages to ourselves, because that's my journey, that have gone through similar stuff. So it doesn't have to be male or female. But when it comes to guys opening up, we know full well that it is difficult. There's no two ways about it. But I think, again, getting up, like you say, speaking to the right person, I believe, who's willing to just listen and not judge. If you're afraid of opening up to a friend or what they might say, you do have to question who's in your social circle. Because it's just, I don't know, if you're afraid to talk to someone because you think that they're going to judge you and say the wrong type of things, or they think you're stupid, or they're going to tell you to man up, why are they a friend of yours in the first place? I think that's when things need to change.
Yeah, and language is so important, right? That the words that we use and the way that we say things can have such an impact. That little comment that you might make to someone could stop that person from ever speaking up again. Yeah. And I think we're moving in the right direction, but I think that's really important for people to think about of who's in my circle and who actually makes me feel good, because we know the people, you get a sense of the people you can talk to and you feel good after, and those where you actually feel worse after, and who may sort of actually make you feel more insecure or drain you of your energy. And I think that's also about boundaries, like knowing to have the boundaries to actually maybe say no next time to being around that person. Yeah. 100%. But Rob, you've given so many amazing nuggets already. Like, for anyone listening, I hope they've been taking notes, because I feel like there's been so much that you said throughout this episode. But if I was to ask you, what would be like your top 3 tips or takeaways for people to help improve their mindset, what would you suggest?
I've written these down, by the way, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm like, I've got these off the cuff, these are the best things ever. But I think I took some time to figure out, for me, what are the 3 that I've used? Because, again, I'm just going off of my journey, and these 3 I think have helped me the best. So I think the first things first is to find out who you are and what your values are in life, because that is going to lead you to your fitness goals, to being happier just in general. And I don't think when I'm talking about values, people don't really take that time, again, to sit down and go, okay, well, what is it I value in life? Like, for me personally, again, these are going to be completely different to everybody. Mine will be completely different to Alex's. But my values are family, adventure, sport and fitness, having fun, and self-development. Those are my core values. So anything that doesn't align with those, any person that comes into my life that's not really in align with that, they're just not a part. They're not there. So therefore, then it's not going to get my attention. So
Wow.
I'm not a
and
massive.
I think I see that you do that in how you spend your time and what you do for your work. It's like you're always living towards those values, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like some people are more sociable than I am in life. They like to go out on weekends. I'm not knocking that, by the way. If people are happy going out and getting drunk and just enjoying themselves Friday and Saturday night and are still happy come Monday, then cool. I'm not saying don't go and do that. But what I'm saying is, if you are unhappy, it might be time to start thinking about those types of things. Because what do you value? Because your goals do have to be in line with your values. This is the problem that people have, because if you're drinking, you're doing all of this, but your goals are completely different to those, well, then something has got to change. Either the goals are different, you need to change those, or it's time to evaluate your values in life and they might have to change. Because when things come together, that's when you reach that sort of next level. That's where you could be more consistent with your mindset, because mindset for me, self-development, that's what I'm massively into. And once these things form together, like I say, consistent with your fitness, consistent with your diet, consistent with everything.
I think that's really powerful.
Thank you.
God, what is number 2?
Number 2, I've gone. That's the first one. I've got no more now.
Wow.
Treat your mind with the same respect you do with your body or anything else that you give attention in life. Does that make sense? I'll probably say that again a little bit better. But treating your mind with the same respect that you treat your body or something that you give attention to. We're very good at giving attention to other people. I'm so selfless. I help other people. But take care of yourself first. Everyone talks about it. They're putting the mask on first. You are the most important thing in your life. Whether it's people say, "Oh, yeah, but I'm a mum, a dad." Cool. But if you want to be around for your children and you want to be happy, they want you to be happy. So therefore, you've got to look after mine first. And that's when things changed for me, when I realized that, listen, I'd spent many years at Aaron Leisure Centre bicep curling and doing all these different types of exercises. Nothing changed. I wasn't happier until I started to understand what went up in here. So yeah, just giving it the same respect is what I would say.
Just so everyone knows, Aaron Leisure Centre is actually where I first knew of Rob. I remember going there as a school kid, and I remembered you from there. And it's so funny how we're now doing this today, but definitely up the Bognor.
Yes, there we go.
I really love that one, Rob. That's amazing.
Cool. And then I'll hit you with number 3. Then which is a very difficult one, to level up your social circle. So I'm not saying that you have to, and I have in the past, I've got rid of friends that you don't have to have the same group of friends. When you think about it, it's a little bit bizarre, isn't it? Because you go from primary school, you then get chucked into secondary school and so on. And you think that these are the people that I'm now stuck with forever. And I've got the same friends from school, don't get me wrong, but I've also lost friends from school as well, because we don't have the same interests or values in life. So I'm not willing to sacrifice my time to spend time with somebody else who we just, like, everyone has that thing, do they, where it's like, oh, yeah, he's okay, but in a group of people, I wouldn't see him one-to-one. Well, then why would you still have him in your social circle? It doesn't make sense to me. So you've got to level up. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. But things changed for me when I started to level up in terms of, from a mindset point of view, spending time with more people that thought the same way that I did, that had the same values that I do. So there's this interesting one. So we are the sum of the 5 people that we spend our time with. Alice probably heard this. She's nodding away. She understands. So if you hang around with 4 people who love self-development, being curious, you're going to become that 5th person, because that's naturally how it's going to be. If you spend all your time with people that just enjoy getting pissed on a Saturday, Sunday and just not really talk about anything, but just living for that moment, you're going to become the 5th person. If you hang around with 4 people that just enjoy gossiping and just chatting absolute garbage, well, guess what? You're going to become that 5th person. But at the same time, spin that on its head. If you hang around with people that prioritize their fitness, prioritize their health and their mindset, you're going to become that 5th person. So I think it's really, really important just to be aware of who you're spending your time with. If you're curious about then trying to find something, it's like finding new friends again, isn't it? It's a very awkward thing to do, and I get it. But this is why it's important to reach out to Alex, to reach out to myself, just to have conversations with people. I think that's what life is about.
Yeah, and it's amazing to connect with people that are like on your wavelength and are like-minded. And when you start doing that, you do feel energized. Like even like from the conversations that we've had and sitting here today, I'm feeling your energy and mindset because, you know, I think we're probably similar in the passion for self-development, but even just knowing that you have maybe the same ethos around things, it really can lift you up. And also, you never know what you might learn. I've learned so much from listening to you today, Rob. I think you're an inspiration. I think you've got such a great like enthusiasm and positive energy. And for anyone that doesn't follow you yet, they have to go on your Instagram and follow your stories, because your content is also pretty cool and really engaging. So that leads me on nicely to where can people find you?
Oh, I suppose, well, if it's the social media world, which is obviously going to be, because it's not going to be at my front door, I suppose Instagram is going to be the one that I suppose most people can find me. So that'll be literally just Rob Dunlop, and there's an underscore at the end of that, but it'll be social media. So it'll be that one, or just Rob Dunlop on Facebook.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure lots of people will be so interested in, you know, listening to this and your mindset hacks and tips, but also, you know, even potentially your PT offering, because I think you really offer something different.
Thank you.
And I've really loved having you on the episode today. So thank you so much. And for everyone listening, please share this with your friends, download, like the episode, and tune in next time to discover the power of self-service.